Hello and welcome to this session about document authentication with Teaching Nomad. My name is Amanda and I'm the Authentications Manager here in our Denver office of Teaching Nomad. This session is to give you some basic information about authenticating your documents for teaching abroad and giving you some resources and tools to get more information or to get in touch with us. All right, so our first question here is, what is document authentication? So this is the process required by many countries to verify the validity of your documents to get your work visa. This typically happens in the country that they were issued. However, for some countries, schools may be able to authenticate some or all of your documents in country, but typically you're required to authenticate your documents before going over so that you're all set and working legally in the country. A few words that may be interchangeable: authentication, attestation, the legalization process, all of those kind of mean the same thing. Notarization, however, is the first step of document authentication. So that's kind of the first step, either done by a public notary or the issuing organization of the document. So for example, if you're trying to authenticate or legalize your diploma, it's up to kind of the country, the government, the school, how they want it notarized. If they're okay with a public notary, such as myself, to make a certified copy of the diploma and authenticate the copy rather than the original. That's definitely the easiest and cheapest way to go, but definitely check in with your school or check in with us about if that is accepted for your country. Otherwise, you'll want the notarization done on the original document by the issuing organization. So for that diploma, it would be the issuing university. Your registrar would say, this is the original document. Make that statement in front of a notary who then notarizes the registrar's signature. So notarization is definitely one of the more trickier parts of the process, but definitely something that we can help you with. We can help clarify with your school, things like that, so that it's done correctly for the embassy and the government that your school is under. What documents do you need authenticated? I'm going to say this a lot. It depends on the country. For example, China requires the 3 documents of your background check, whether this is state level or FBI, is up to kind of the province and those requirements. And then your diploma, most likely your bachelor's degree, but some schools request that highest level diploma, so if you have a master's. And then a teaching certificate or TOEFL certificate, or a letter that shows that you've been teaching for 2+ years. So that one kind of depends on your situation. If you don't have a TOEFL certificate or haven't taken a TOEFL course, we offer one through our partner company TeacherLink, and I would love to get you some more information and get you in contact with Sean, who's the director of that department. Just go ahead and you can find that information on the website, or reach out to me and I can get you more information. So it just kind of depends on the country, what documents you need authenticated. For example, the UAE, it's called attestation instead of authentication, and may require your transcripts of your high school diploma or bachelor's diploma, master's diploma, or all of those to be attested. It's just kind of up to the school of what they require. And then, of course, if you're bringing over a family, your kiddos, your spouse, you'll want to authenticate those documents as well. So it's kind of case by case, but we're happy to kind of chat about your specific situation and what documents you'll need, but definitely also check with your school, as they are the ones who will know kind of the requirements for their country and the specific province or government or emirate. All right, so kind of knowing the basics of getting your documents authenticated, can Teaching Nomad authenticate your documents? We are experts in the United States authentication process. So that means if your documents were issued in the United States, no matter what passport you hold, we most likely can do your document authentication. Or if you are a U.S. passport holder, we can do any and all of your documents, including running that state-level background check for you or authenticating the FBI check that you already have in hand. And there's lots of information on our website about those different background checks too. But we can also authenticate any degree from any U.S. any passport holder. There is just a list of approved universities, so we want to make sure that we check in with that if your university is on that list. So definitely reach out for that degree authentication so that it's an online verification system, and we can kind of go from there, because that's a case-by-case situation. But even if we aren't able to authenticate your documents, we have lots of resources online. If you're a UK citizen or Canadian or South African, we have information on the process and how to get your background check and all of that on our website. And then we also have a contact that can help authenticate your documents for any country, and there's a discount code on there as well. So I highly encourage you to check out our website. If we can authenticate your documents, or even if we can't, there's so much information on there and resources that can help. Which countries do we authenticate for? So on our order form, you'll find these 4 countries. So China, UAE, South Korea, and Vietnam. It might be called something different. China is authentication, UAE is attestation, South Korea is the apostille process, and Vietnam is authentication. So they all mean the same thing, but like to call it something different. If there's a country that you're hoping to get your documents authenticated that isn't on our order form, just reach out to us, because we definitely have the resources and contacts to authenticate for other countries. And for example, we have some interest for Thailand authentication, so that's something that we are looking into and could potentially offer on the order form. But definitely reach out if there's a country you need your documents authenticated for that isn't on the order form. All right, what steps can we complete of the authentication or legalization or attestation process? So essentially we can do any and all steps, and that includes ordering a state level background check if you hold that US passport, and if your school is okay with that state level background check rather than the national FBI federal background check, we can run a state level background check here and get it fully authenticated for the country you're going to. And then from there, we can do any and all steps of any of your documents. So that could include notarization, if your school's okay with that, just notary public making a certified copy and notarizing it. We can work with you to figure out which type of notarization is required, and we can go from there. The county clerk is a step that some of the states in the United States require for different countries of authentication. And then, of course, most require that Secretary of State step. Some require the Department of State step, which is in DC. and then, of course, the embassy. So really, those are the possible steps, and we can do any and all of them. If you want to save a couple bucks up front and do the Secretary of State step because you live, downtown and across the street from it, you can do that, and then just send us the document for the rest of the steps. It's very flexible. We can do any parts of it to help you out, or the whole thing to just avoid the headache altogether. And then once your documents are authenticated or legalized, we send you scans of the documents before mailing them. And of course, you'll want to send those scans onto your school so that they have them and can start, for China, your work permit process that then you'll turn into your visa. And we have a good resource for an agent for getting your visa at the embassy, since you do have to go in person for China. Definitely taking advantage of an agent is a good idea if you don't live anywhere near your required embassy. So that's just kind of for China. But you'll want to pass on those authenticated documents to your school for next steps. All right, how much does Teaching Nomad charge for this service? Again, it depends on the country, but other factors to consider: number of documents that you're getting legalized. I've authenticated 9 documents for one person in the UAE, but then only 3 for China. It really depends. And then, of course, the type of notarization required, if we can do the notarization here in office or if it'll need to be done by your university. That kind of will determine the timeline and the cost. And that cost can range between, it's a big range, but again, those factors come into play, $200 to $1,000. If you get those birth certificates and marriage licenses in there and transcripts, it can definitely add up. However, authentications don't expire, so except for your background check, because it needs to be recent. So you'll have those documents in the future for that country. And, it's definitely an upfront cost, but something that's necessary for most countries. And definitely check in with your school, see if they will help cover any of the cost or reimburse you once you get to your country. Definitely check in with your school. And then, for a place like China, it may be a big upfront cost, but once you get to China and start making, money, and the cost of living is so low, it's definitely worth it, and you'll pay off the upfront cost very quickly. And then definitely using Teaching Nomad can help cut costs if you do have to travel to an embassy, and then of course stay while they're processing it and then pick it up. If you don't live near an embassy, that can get expensive. So using somebody like us can definitely help cut costs and then make sure that things are done properly, because you don't want to have to pay to redo things if they weren't done properly. We ensure that the process will be done properly and make sure it gets to all the steps that it needs to. So here's our order form. Our order form link is down here. Just kind of wanted to show you what it looks like. These are the 4 that we authenticate for right now, the 4 countries, and then filling in the rest of it so that we have your information. And then towards the bottom, it asks for the documents that you need authenticated. For China, it won't allow you to pay right away when you submit, because I'll reach out and kind of solidify the documents and type of process we need to go through and all of that. So I will send you an invoice separately, but the other 3 you'll be able to just pay right when you order. And then we'll reach out, of course, and make sure everything's good to go, collect your documents, do all of that, and then you can order the background check on there as well. So definitely check us out here at this website for the order form. There's also a couple of PDFs of information on there, lots of resources for you. And of course, our phone number here in office. We're happy to talk through this on the phone too, because we know it can be a lot of information. All right, well, thank you for listening, and we look forward to working with you.